Hello everybody and welcome back to another exciting episode of Create Like a Pro. As you will know, we're going to create the main structure of a song inspired by famous artists from all over the world. Anyway, who is the daily artist? Let's check it out. In the meantime, open your Cubase Pro, create a new project and let's get started. I had a lot of fun while creating this project and I'm gonna lead you through the whole process step by step. So, I divided the project in three parts: the crescendo, the climax, and the coda. First of all, I created this simple dark piano melody. And the cymbal sputter. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cymbals, 2 crashes, 1 gong, 2 reverse crashes, I triggered, pampered, and set the dynamic sensitivity for each of them. You can easily do that by going to the amp menu, set the velocity range or even a behavior according to your keyboard sensitivity. Another thing I love to do is to force the cymbal to change pitch randomly. Just go on the pitch tab and increase the random knob. I spent some time on this groove. It was not about just writing the notes, but also about placing the sounds in a 3D space. Let me disable all the effects for a while. Pretty much different, isn't it? I split the cymbals in 2 groups, far and close. On the far group, I've inserted Reverence, the tunnel preset, and I've set the mix to 100% in order to hear just the reverb. Then I insert a compressor that helps to raise the reverb tail. And last, I've inserted a quite slow autopan. On the second group instead, I have no insert, but just a large hole worm from Revelation as sound effects. Going ahead, 4 measures before the climax, we have the timpani rolls. Unfortunately, I didn't find a suitable patch in HALion Sonic SE3 built-in library, but just a standard timpan. So I tried out something different. I looked for a timpan audio sample in the library and I found this one. Drag and drop into Groove Agent. Let's define the tune first. It seems to be D flat, but I need B flat instead. So I pitch it down a bit and... Yes, it works! Now the roll effects. I go to Media Effects and activate Rudiments. Select Roll. Set the time to 40 milliseconds. The dynamic and the humanides at 85% and... It works! Let's jump to the climax. I made a really hard work on the percussions because I wanted them to sound very massive. We got some impacts, congas and a little notchy percussions. I'll show you that in a while. Let's compare the dry and wet signal. I just want to remember you that when you have many deep percussions, you must avoid to saturate the low frequencies, compromising so the mix. Now I'm gonna play the processed version. You will notice that each percussion is well placed and defined in the mix. Let's focus on each percussion. This is the dry version of the main impact, the boom. As you can see, it has several problems. It is left unbalanced, out of the phase, and it doesn't sound properly. To fix the phase, first I'm gonna insert a stereo enhancer and set the width to 20%. Better, but there are still some low frequencies moving on the left side. Let's fix it. I load frequencies and set the band 1 on mid side. Then I switch to the side tab and set a 12 dB cut on 90 Hz. In this way, I removed the low frequencies only from the sides and not from the center. It works! Next percussion, the clang. I'm going to treat this as a snare, so I'm gonna dramatically cut under 100 Hz, give it a little bit of body, presence, and brilliance. Listen how good it fits now with the boom sound. Let's make it more interesting. I add the quadrifast too to make it more aggressive. Then I insert a gentle limiter. And constrain the stereo image more in the center. Okay, next, the stomp. Of course, I don't need these deep end frequencies, so I'm gonna use the same technique as before. On the side, I made a 24 dB cut on 100 Hz, and I dynamically enhanced the high end. Then I used a gentle limiter, and I reduced the stereo image a little bit. Last, the impacts. That's really huge. Unfortunately, as before, I don't need these low-end frequencies, so I apply less more the same settings as before. So, low cut, body, and I wanted to enhance this percussion on the high end. Then a gentle limiter, and a stereo enhancer at 50%. For the congas, I used Quadrafast to create a sound that would matches with the global mood. Then I quickly cleaned the low end and slightly enhanced the high end. And last, I further saturated with a DAW tube. Now, as I promised, the fun part, the ethnic percussions. While constructing the Climax percussion groove, I was looking for some weird ethnic drum. Unfortunately, I didn't find anything suitable, but at the end I came up with this. First, I looked for an ethnic percussion loop in the Cubase library. Loaded into Groove Agent SE5. Of course, it's not on my project tempo. Then I move on the Slice tab, and the magic happens when I click on Create Slices. The pad section will be automatically updated with the slices just created, along with further changes you will make. I can adjust the threshold, for example, or the minimal length, or even adjust the slice manually. And if I click on the pattern tab, I got my sample on tempo. This allows me to use the loop and play some notes at the same time, creating so random variations. Amazing. Anyway, let's process. I wanted to make this loop more unusual, so I inserted the distortion plugin and play with it a little bit. After that, I cut some low frequencies and enhanced the high end. After all this processing, let's check the final result. I'm very happy with this. Going back to the crescendo part, I want to show you how to create a frightening and restless pad that comes into the game from far away. So as always, I start from an empty scenario. What I'm going to do requires a little knowledge of the metrics and the modulator section. To make it simple, just remember that 1. Through the metrics, you can connect one or more parameters to the others. 2. An LFO is a low-frequency oscillator, not audible, that's very important, used to modulate the parameter it is assigned to. Let's try to connect the LFO1 to the pitch and see what happens. Just click on the small lines, then drag. Notice that as I hover on an assignable knob, it will turn green. And drop. The metrics section will automatically update, and it's telling us that the source, the LFO1, is connected to the destination, the oscillator 1 pitch. In other words, the oscillator 1 pitch is changing according to the LFO1 settings. I want just a tiny variation, so I'm going to decrease the depth. like that. Notice that every time I hit a key on my keyboard, the pitch starts going up or down randomly. Instead, I want it to start from the highest pitch and then move to the lowest. Let's fix it. I click on Retrigger and select Edge. Okay, we are almost there. Let me deactivate it for a while. Actually, its behavior is like this. But I want this instead. That means that I have to switch the phase to 180 degrees. Well done. I increase the frequency a little bit. Next, I want to connect the LFO3 to the filter cutoff. So, as you might know now, click here and drag and drop on the cutoff. I increase the frequency. Done. And now the fun part. I want the LFO2 to randomly control the LFO3 frequency. Unfortunately, I cannot do that in the same way as before. So let's make it like a pro. I move on an empty slot. And as we said, the source, the LFO2, will control the destination, the LFO3 frequency. In which way? Randomly. So I switch to the random waveform. Let's try this. That's weird. I don't hear any changes. This happened because I have to tell to the matrix how much signal I want to send over. So I move to the depth and increase it a little bit. Look how many complex chains you can create with the matrix section. I love it! Time to shape the sound. I set the oscillator 1 on square, type multi, shape 6, number voice 5, the tune 2. For the oscillator 2, I go for square. See how the matrix changed the oscillator's behavior individually. Going back to the oscillator 2, phase fix 0, shape 1, and 1 octave down. Then I move to the filter section, type clip, and set the distortion to 60%. Then I'm gonna set a very slow attack and long release. Nice! Let's put this sound in a 3D space. I want it to be very far away. So what I'm going to do is to increase the send level and set it on pre-fader. I lower the volume all the way down. In this way, the sound effects will be not affected by the channel volume, and we will hear just the reverb and not the dry signal. Nice! I'm gonna play it on the proper pitch and softly fade it in. Let's check what we've done so far. Very nice. The next sound I want to craft is the protagonist of the climax for the following reason. It's aggressive. For the oscillator 1, I go to Sync, Shape 1, and 1 octave down. For the oscillator 2, I select Multi, number of voice 8, and the tune 9 cents. For the oscillator 3, I select Cross, Shape 3, and 1 octave up. I turn the sub on and fix phase. Let me tweak the volumes. Like that. And now, filter type, clip. Are you ready? Let me load the volume a little bit. Then I move to the effects section. I set a long reverb and a delay. Let's process. I want to enhance the lower harmonics, so I load Squasher, excluded the band 2 and 3, input plus 6. I want to literally mishandle the sound, so I load the quadrafuzz and distort the band 2, 3, and 4. Last, I'm gonna use a mid-side EQ on the band 1 to constrain the low frequencies more in the center. Instead, on the 5 kHz, I do the opposite, increasing the side and lowering the middle frequencies. This results in having a very wide signal without counterfacing it. This is the before. And the after. The next sound works as preparation, a transition between the first part and the aggressive and huge climax. To make the picture more clear, I'm gonna play it along with the pitching synth we created before. Let's do it! I'm gonna reset Retrolog 2. For the oscillator 1, I select Sync, Shape 1, and 1 octave down. I leave the oscillator 2 as it is, and for the oscillator 3, I select Cross, Shape 3, and 1 octave up. I turn on the sub and fix phase. I want to add some noise and I go for pink noise. Let's mix the volumes. Filter, clip, and let's crash the sounds. Okay, now that you're confident with the metrics, I'm gonna show you some other creative way to manipulate the sound. First, I want to connect the LFO with the oscillator 3. To make the change more clear, I'm gonna isolate it. Click here, drag and drop. Done! Very easy. Of course, I'm not making an arcade video game soundtracks, so I have to change the settings. I select Square and move the shape to 50%. Retrigger first, sync mode tempo, and frequency 1 measure. And I'm gonna tweak the depth and the offset. Next, I want to cyclically move the pump pot left-right. So I'm gonna assign the main pump pot to the LFO2. That means that the source, the LF2, will go to the destination, the pump pot. I increase the depth. A little bit slowly, maybe. Okay. And last, I want the LFO3 to control the cutoff. So, drag and drop and tweak the depth. And the offset as well. I want it to go on tempo of 1 measure. Let's add some effects. I'm gonna add a long reverb and a delay. Last, I'm gonna use the mid-side EQ as we saw before. So I lowered the side signal on the low frequencies and increased the high frequencies a little bit just on the side to make the stereo image wider. Let's give it a ride with the other instruments. The last synth I'm going to craft is a real game changer. Let me introduce you Simple 1.5 by Chris Stobin. It's an HALion sonic expansion based on the subtractive synthesis and designed for monophonic sounds as leads, basses or effects. But it's much more than that. Let's make a quick tour. By default, we got 2 oscillators, but we can add up to 4 layers by choosing the corresponding preset. Let me show you how the sound changes by moving just these 2 knobs without getting mad on complicated and busy user interfaces. How long it takes? 20 seconds? On the display we got 4 tabs. The Master tab shows the general settings as the volume, the pitch, the quality and so on. The Voice tab is where you can activate the arpeggiator and choose between the Classic mode, where you have access to hundreds of pattern presets, and the Custom mode, where you can design your own sequence. Right above we got the Mono section. By switching the synth to mono, we get access to the Super Voice function that allows you to color and enrich the main oscillator just by selecting a preset from the list. Check this out. Very nice. In the Effects tab we got a distortion, a chorus, a delay and reverb. Let me experiment a while. The distortion consists in an overdrive along with a bit reduction feature. Interesting. The chorus? We can choose between classic, phased, flanged, ensemble. The delay and the reverb. We got up to 7 types of different ambience. For each effects, you can find the relative preset just by clicking here on these small lines. The last tab is the modulation matrix, where you can connect 1 or more parameters each other and create interesting combination. Anyway, the feature I love the most is the filter section. It is as simple as powerful. There are many shapes you can choose from, but my favorite one is the duplex. You know why? Check this out. Okay, now you know. Right below we got 3 envelopes for the filter, the volume, while the last one is for customizable use. Then we got 3 LFO, and last, the super tone function that allows you to switch between 3 different modes: digital, analog, and bionic, that will give to the sound a very unique color and behavior. Anyway, time to craft our instrument. I start from an empty preset. I leave the oscillator 1 as it is, and for the oscillator 2 I set the pitch 1 octave down. And I simply change the shape, like this. Then I move to the voice tab, select mono, disable the glide, and set the super voice to ultra wide 5. Now I'm gonna create an envelope with a very slow attack. Select the filter Duplex Low Pass 48, envelope amount to the top, set these two guys to 0, increase the emphasis, and set the cutoff to 0. Moving back to the filter envelope, I set a slow attack, a long release, and 0 sustain. Let me set the volume envelope according to the filter envelope. Time for the matrix. I'm gonna connect the LFO1 to the filter cutoff and the user envelope to the oscillator 1 shape. A little bit of a sound distraction, a long reverb, and a touch of delay. See how the user envelope is controlling the oscillator 1. Very cool, isn't it? Very quickly I connect the modulation wheel to the fatness. Just right-click, learn Control Change, and move the modulation wheel. Let's check it out. Okay, now I want to further process this sound, so I'm gonna add the squasher and pump the lower edge a little bit. Compress it. And make it more destructive with the quadrafuzz. A gentle limiter. And last, I constrain the bass frequencies to the center and increase the high end on the side. Let's see if it works along with the aggressive synth. Nice combo, I like it. Let's talk about the orchestral section. All the sounds you're going to hear are from HALion Sonic SCE3 built-in library. My favorite way to make an orchestral crescendo is to start with a few instruments at low dynamics and add layers time by time until reaching the fortissimo. And so I did here. I started from the piano, the secret is to make each section to perform the crescendo. Let's have a look at the strings. See how I started from the center with the melody and I slowly gained space with lower and higher notes, and this results in more volume and a wider frequency spectrum. Same for the brass. I started with a low section, then I gradually added more notes. Anyway, this is just a rough picture. In real life and with a real orchestra, the things are a little bit more technical and funny at the same way. I want to show you a practical example. I roughly prepared this. Don't worry if you don't have any orchestral knowledge, I'm gonna make it easy. You can clearly see the brass section, the string section, and the piano. We start with the piano I did. The violins play the melody. Now the tuba and the trombones remarks the piano accompaniment. The cellos and the contrabasses double them. The trumpets and the horn takes part to the crescendo until the whole orchestra reach the fortissimo. Here we go. Well, I hope everything is a little bit more clear now, but if you have any question anyway, just let me know with a comment and I will answer as soon as possible. Time for Q&A. Thank you guys for supporting the channel and like this video series. It's always satisfying to read your comments. Hugo wants to know how and why I use the mix bus. It is a bit technical, but I'm gonna try to explain it in the most comprehensive way possible. I insert a maximizer on the mix bus and nothing on the master channel, and this is the export. Then I move the effects on the master channel and export it. Let's compare them. We have more or less 1 dB of difference in loudness. The less is the value, the higher is the sound pressure, and around 2 dBs of difference in peaks. That means that, in my opinion, the maximizer on the mix bus is more capable to compress and limit the signal. But I don't want you to trust me, I want you to figure it out by yourself. Let's overlap the two waveforms. Here you can clearly see the master channel waveform overtaking the mix bus channel signal. So my friend, my advice is use the mix bus channel on your next production. Next question. David asked for a beginning tutorial. The basic approach to Cubase is very simple. To create a track, just click here and select your VST. I choose HALion Sonic SE3 and select a preset from the list. Now I'm ready to record some notes and quantize. I want to add another instrument on the slot too. That means I have to create a MIDI track that will transmit data on channel 2. I can do that in several ways. My favorite one is to double-click on an empty slot. But you can also right-click here and select the MIDI track. Or just click on the plus button and select the track you want. Now, all we have to do is to assign the MIDI channel output to the VST instrument. Then I select the MIDI channel 2, go to HALion Sonic and select an instrument on the slot 2. I choose a synth bass. Record. Quantize. Same process for the drum. I use Groove Agent SE5. To load a sample, just go to Media, Loops and Sample and type the sound you want. Then drag and drop on a slot. Or maybe you can load a loop and use both. Let's go back to our project. I want to spend a few words about instrument placement in a 3D space. I'm going to play the trumpets part with any effects. Well, I suppose that is not what you expect from a real trumpet section. It's too close to the conductor and there is lack of ambient. So I loaded the Concert Chamber Dark preset from Revelation as Insert Effects. No dry signal, that's very important, and check the difference. Placement done. Then I tried to enhance the middle and high frequencies with the quadra fuzz. I cut at the low end and expanded the high end. Then I constrained the sound more to the center to simulate the section sides. And finally, I added a reverb as a sound effects to make the section blend properly with the entire orchestra. Not bad. I'm happy with this. You can repeat the same process anytime you want to play an instrument into a 3D space. Okay guys, time for the final ride. I bet now you will listen with a lot more informations. Last part, all the instruments and synth vanish smoothly, while the simple synth dramatically closes the song with a strident effects just before.
That's how I like to create music, guys. Exploring, craft your own sound and never put limits to your creativity. That's the way to create like a pro. I see you soon. Ciao!